All right.
Um,
Someone couch.
for Ops One Couch podcast. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Thank you guys for your participation in this psyop, because I'm sure that's what everybody's going to say it is. Tonight we have our four traditional casters. That's myself, Captain Morgan, Aussie Wookie from Down Under, our, Fire for Lore, and Frost. We also
Morning,
have
guys.
our non or legally distinct Jamie, which is Culper. So thank you for joining us again, Culper, and streaming for us. I appreciate the time and effort you put into, getting the recording and the software going and all that stuff. It's a lot of work, so thank you. And last but not least, our guest tonight is the one and only Mr. Karmakut. So thank you for joining us here on one of your, I'm sure, many busy days that you have every day.
No worries. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We're going to talk about a lot of different things tonight. Kind of the history of SquadOps, what got Karma to start this place. Some favorite memories. We're going to talk about some silly things. We're going to kind of evolve from there into what Karma is currently doing, and whatever personal tidbits of information he feels like he wants to give out to the public. And then we'll wrap the night up, I'm sure, with some revelry and some debauchery. So it should be a good time. I'm gonna preface all of this with kind of some calendar information. So for those of you interested, tomorrow at 7:45 Central, 8:45 Eastern, we have a One Life event, which is Operation Dirty Bomb. Essentially, it's one of our expert nuclear physicists on the Russian side has defected to the United States. However, we were able to shoot down his aircraft before it got too far. Platoon must reach the crash site before the Americans do and extract the defector. We want him alive. And from the U.S. forces, we were able to convince one of Russia's expert nuclear physicists to defect. However, his aircraft was shot down before he could make it. Your platoon must reach the crash site before the Russians reach the crash site, extract him before the Russians get him. We want him alive. I've been told that there's some unique mechanics in this particular operation. It's going to be kind of a fun time. Uh, we should have some SF kits that are kind of being put out from both sides. So we've got some Ranger kits on the US side, and then we have some Russian Special Forces kits. If you want to check that out, I highly recommend it. Go sign up on the website, squadops.gg. And again, that's 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Following that, on Sunday, we have a new Scenario Sunday. I do not have the document for that yet, but I've also been told to expect some pretty cool new things. We've got two outside groups that are going to be joining us at this time, 5th MRB and then SC. So thank those communities for signing up to participate with us. We've already got a regiment of squad leaders, and we're just looking for maybe a Red 4 command. So if you're interested in taking that role, please sign up for it. I believe we're also looking for maybe one more heli pilot. That will be Sunday at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. So those are the two things that we have coming up this week. This weekend, I should say. Wednesday, we've got Dark Trail, and then the following weekend, we have Iron Hall, which again is a new operation. Rolling out the end of the month will be a SOT Basic on Sunday the 30th. So if you guys haven't taken our basic course, I highly recommend it. It's not what you would normally describe as, basic training. It's just a good representation of what the gameplay in Squad is like, how our One Life operations and subsequently our Scenario Sundays or other, multi-life events go and do. Gives you some basic overviews of maneuverability and how to talk guns, if you're unfamiliar with that concept. But overall, the major, focal point for those SOT basics is just giving you the tools necessary to make good decisions within our events. That is all for announcements, unless I'm missing anything legally distinct, Jamie. All right. Hey, LaFlash, thanks for joining us again, man. We appreciate you coming out and watching us. Without further ado, we'll let Karmakut introduce himself. So, Karma, what do you go by nowadays? Is His Royal Highness the Monarch of Denmark, or what are we doing nowadays?
I'm the same dude doing things. Yeah, just continuing my journey on this large Milsim adventure. Going a level deeper into the rabbit hole every single day. But yeah, just been continuing content in that realm, and now making a game. So that's where we're at now.
Hmm. So
Pretty
you are
exciting things.
you are developing a game,
We're
and can you
developing a
give us
game.
a brief, whatever description you can give us about this game?
Yeah, I mean the way I would describe it is it is the natural evolution or next generation of these games that we've been playing, like in the tactical Milsim realm. I just felt like, as I look back at how my journey in the space has been, like starting out very simple with squad and like puppy squad, and then going to op stuff, and then going deeper into Arma, and then go deeper into modding for squad and Arma. It's just like that next level of what can I make that can provide a more authentic experience than what I've been currently doing. And so that's what the goal is trying to make this next cool level of Milsim accessible, and really bring that next generation feel to it that I think, I got tired of waiting. It's been 10 years
That's
since
fair.
Squad came out. It's been 10 years since, we finally got Reforger, but like it's been like maybe 10 plus years since Arma, Tarkov, everything. I got tired of waiting, and I didn't see who was gonna make that next thing, and I didn't have, I wasn't excited in what I was being shown for the next level. So I thought, hey, we'll give it a stab. We'll see what we can do, and yeah, that's where we're at.
So the next level after creating a group is to create the game itself for the group.
That's it.
Oh hell
That's
yeah!
it.
That's tough, but
Next, we're
some people got it.
Well, Culper, I believe we have a trailer for Bellum. Can you show us the trailer?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, we do indeed. I will bring that up right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. With a distinctively different name.
Well, hold on. Doesn't want to bring it up.
We're having some technical difficulties. Give him a
Yes, I
minute.
apologize.
We're amateurs at this. If he was paid, he'd probably put a lot more effort into this.
I mean, I
This
just
is
had
where
it right
the
before
other
the
guy
stream. It's not my fault.
revealed Jamie. We'll just yell at him for a little bit,
Yeah,
Last time we get
100%.
But we're nice.
Jamie
We won't
voice.
yell at you.
I
for
I
another
on
minute or
camera.
so.
On camera.
Yeah, another minute or
afterwards,
so, I think.
Okay.
We'll save the beating until afterwards. Don't worry.
There we go. Alrighty.
The pillowcase full of soap in your future, man.
The
A
trailer
body
is good to go.
pillowcase full
All right,
of
everyone
soap.
shut up.
Yeah.
6, this is 1-6. Pushing to BPs, over.
Roger that, 1-6. Report when established.
One 1-1 Alpha. We're setting up BP West now.
1-1 Alpha, roger. 1-2, you're released.
Six, 1-2, we're set in 30 seconds.
Net call, slant on target. Power, 0, 0, over.
Hey, check the back.
Yeah, I got it.
6, this is 1-6. Conditions set.
Roger 1-6. You're a go to execute assault.
1613. Eagles moving to breach.
This is 1-E. ISR's got a shooter pushing the breach.
1-3 Alpha, we have him.
Crash white side! Crash white side!
What you look alive? Get a 6, this is 1-6. Using contact.
Let's go! Pick it up! Pick it up!
Alrighty. The trailer is over. That looked beautiful.
Thank you.
So, what can you tell us about this game? I know there's still a lot of hush hush things about it, and I know that you can't. You got to be a little nondescript. So, what's the things that you can tell us about this game? What is the maybe the setting or any of the info that you'd be comfortable sharing here?
Sure. I mean, we can go through the public stuff. The very public stuff is that it's set in Africa. It's set in the near future, so 2030s ish. We want to give ourselves a little breathing room on the creativity side. Doing past events. A lot of the past events have been covered already, very extensively, especially the Afghan stuff or anything in the Middle East has been done. From my gamer opinion, it's been done too much, and we want to explore something new. So having a little bit of a fictional spin on it in the near future was the choice creatively there. It also lets us, gives us a little breathing room to do some cool things. That being said, it is heavily inspired by real world events. I mean, even now, sometimes, as we're watching the news on the team and whatnot, as you hear about Africa heating up and whatnot, we're going oh my God, please don't draw too much attention to these conflicts going on, because there's always stuff going on in Africa. I mean, even the US has been doing stuff down there for quite some time, but we don't want to cross any lines or delve into anything too controversial. We do want to very clearly state that it is a fictional conflict in somewhat of a fictional place, but heavily inspired by real life tactics, real life areas, and that was the design choice there. As far as the gameplay is concerned, it is very much taking upon a lot of the experience that I have just from playing, thousands of hours of Squad, thousands of hours of Tarkov, thousands of hours of Arma, and hundreds of hours of the other tactical shooters, Hell Let Loose, even Ground Branch and what have you, right? I probably have. I was looking the other day. I think I passed 5,000 hours in Arma and probably 3,000 hours still in Squad, and I haven't touched Squad in 4 years probably now. 3 years probably now. So yeah, it's just basically taking all my favorite parts about all these games, all the things I wish that they had done correctly, all the things I wish they had improved or paid attention to, and basically breaking down what makes that immersive team fight in a video game world, because that's always what has interested me from the content side or from the gaming side. Is I think everyone when they booted up Call of Duty for the first time or any first person war style FPS, there's an image in their brain. Maybe it's a little biased or influenced from media or movies or TV shows that they've watched, but there's a certain understanding or some underlying thought about how these games are intended to be played, especially the teamwork heavy ones. And it just happens that how these games are developed or how certain things are designed, that is rarely the case, unfortunately, in a lot of instances. In a lot of instances, what we get are the lone wolf simulators, the one tap simulators, the walking simulators, and not necessarily the gritty team fights and gunfights and engagements that allow you to communicate and work together without having to fight the game itself or come up with imaginary rules or mod the game into oblivion. That was the philosophy behind what problem is this game solving, and that's what we're aiming to do. Is we're trying to get you guys, so that I know everyone here knows because you guys are in ops, but there's that certain level of adrenaline, that certain level of awe that occurs when you have a group of people working together and everything is designed in a way that makes them act as realistically within reason that they can, and we're just trying to get that straight into the veins as fast as possible to the gamer. That's the idea there.
Awesome. Do you foresee? Well, I guess first thing is you're absolutely 100% right about Africa being a playground for the U.S. for probably the last 30 years. I mean, I say playground, I'm using that very loosely. I know that a lot of, from personal experience and from talking to people that I know, it's been a testing ground for equipment and weapons and tactics and training for a very long time. And at any given point, um, you know, there's a number of soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen that are there doing various tasks and duties as assigned in Africa. So this is a unique place. I 100% agree with you that it's a unique place to showcase in a game. It's not something that really gets a lot of airtime, right? It's not a popular place to show. The most recent thing I think that was very well politicized or publicized is probably the oh god, what is, I'm going to butcher his name, Chris Craigmore. He's the British SAS.
Obi-Wan Nairobi.
Yeah, he's the British SAS soldier that was there doing some training for some Nairobi forces, and he stopped allegedly a person that looked just like him stopped a massacre from happening. So, those sorts of things really happen a lot more often. So I'm excited to see something play out in Africa. I spent a little bit of my time in the Marine Corps in and out of that country, so it'll be neat to see kind of the portrayal. Kind of circling back, am I correct in assuming, based off of the uniforms and the equipment, that the primary faction that the player will be playing is a ranger force of some sort, U.S. Army?
Yeah, so we have 3 factions planned for launch, or like I use that term loosely because that's been early access launch, 1.0 launch. There's many different launches in a game's life cycle now, especially an indie game. But yeah, well, upon players getting their hands on the game, we are aiming to have the 3 playable factions at the rip, and that's just because it's a small team. It's a very ambitious project. I want to make sure that things are attainable. We're not. My view and perspective when it comes to this is I want to go deep. I don't want to go a mile wide and inch deep. I want to go super deep into what we have. Whether that's the weapon mechanics, whether that's the tactics, whether that's the equipment available, the customization. I want to go deep on a couple few things, and I think that's just super important because of in a lot of games now. When you look, people are pumping out weapon factions, a whole bunch of different content, but when all the content acts and performs the exact same, there's no real difference in how any of that functions or how you utilize it in any game. Like it just turns into a weapon skin. It loses a lot of its meaning when these unique things that get added are just essentially reskin versions of existing, mechanics or weaponry or equipment in the existing game. So what we want to do is make sure that we have the 3 solid factions from the start. There's going to be the 75th Ranger Regiment. It's going to be a Russian PMC group and an insurgent local Indige group. It's a rebel group. We plan on having, hopefully down the line, we hope to have many more factions to come. But it's definitely very counterinsurgency focused. It's focused on special operations groups working in these areas. Maybe they clash with one another. Maybe they are working against the local rebellious factions and whatnot. But that's primarily the scope of the game is to have this counterinsurgency feel to it, more so than these massive combined ops, large scale stuff with tanks and massive jet fighter stuff going on and chaos. It is very much more surgical, just because I think in my time playing these games, that's where you get the most authentic experience. And this is just off of talking to a lot of guys and talking to a lot of subject matter experts. It's hard to do, a combined large scale operation with 40 dudes, 50 dudes per team, even 60 dudes per team, because that's already just a single infantry platoon with attachments most of the time. So like you have this issue, in squad, namely, where you have you maybe have 2 infantry squads and you have everyone else in armored vehicles, helicopters, whatever. And now the game feels incredibly lopsided, or it loses that gritty infantry sense because you've blown the scales up so much without having the player count for it. I think, in a perfect world, I'd love to do some large scale combined operation stuff with like tanks, and you have so many armored vehicles on the map, so many airframes on the map. But I think before we get there, we want to have a solid player count, like in one server that we can support with frames and with latency all considered. But yeah, it is very much surgical in that nature. It's focused on the special operations groups, and there's a lot of past real world instances where even Rangers running into Wagner and stuff like that. It's really rooted in a lot of cool history that I think maybe it's not too obvious to some people, but being super deep in the niche, I think there's some cool stuff we can do there, especially with all the detail, whether it's breaching or whether it's all the cool tools that these guys can use rather than just I'm flying the helicopter here, I get out and I shoot people. There's a lot of depth there that I think we can explore that hasn't been explored in a multiplayer setting yet.
Yeah, I agree, and you really get the opportunity to kind of walk before you run, right? So you can perfect that small unit tactics experience, and then if it's something you want to delve into later by adding in, an armored vehicle or two here or there, or if you want to design a new game mode that's something, battlegrounds or something larger where it's infantry intermixed with vehicles or aircraft or what have you, you can definitely do that. So I that's 100%. I agree with you there as far as the methodology is concerned. Is the intent to be agnostic with I would say the unit naming? So what I mean by that is there's been two camps that you kind of fall into as far as these games go. So you take like Armor Forger, for example. They have NATO forces and they have Russian forces, and then they have, People's Liberation Army, but they don't call it that. It's called something else. It's very agnostic in the sense that NATO forces could be any troop from NATO, Russian forces, or any troop within the Russian sphere of influence, and then so on and so forth. Whereas like Squad is taken to, their units that they have on the map. They're specifically naming the unit and what they are, and some of them. I haven't done a lot of research into the unit names, but some of them actually have some historical basis, or there's a reason why they're named that specific thing, maybe tongue in cheek or something like that, right? But is your intent to be agnostic as possible with this, to kind of minimize the potentially political or social, the social norm, or are you guys gonna do something a little more catered to that immersiveness where the player could be part of the 25th freedom fighters brigade from Tassar, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I think it's sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, write your own stories. Like I think
Right.
what he's trying to get at is like what Armor does the best, where it's just NATO and then CSAT, and it's just like, yeah, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. I think in certain cases we are definitely, like, very specifically, our first faction is the 75th Ranger Regiment. Like, it is very much that faction, is that unit. The guys in the game are kitted with the exact stuff that they're using. Even like some of those voices that you hear in the trailer, those are former 375 guys, and then also just having some of the guys on the team to advise as well. We really want to give the real factions the detail and authenticity that they deserve. However, we do want to also, as you mentioned as well, there are certain units, not even part of the U.S., but or whatever faction it may be a part of. There are definitely controversial, even insurgent factions that we don't necessarily want to add one for one into the game, and we'll have to express some creative freedom. So it is kind of a pick and choose kind of thing as far as what factions will make it into the game that will be one to one with their, with their whole organization, with their equipment and whatnot, and what they're called in the history. And there's definitely going to be some that are fictionalized for the sake of I don't know, for the sake of less headaches, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some former Wagner guys you can use for voice acting.
I don't know. The former Wagner guys are probably too former now. Like, gone former.
As you were like developing this game, did you have like a shopping list of like features from other games that you were like, we need the gunsmithing and the weapon customization of Tarkov or Ground Branch, and maybe we'll have the sound design of Tarkov when it actually works,
No.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it. Well, so like every time I approach a video game, right, whether it be Squad, Arma, Ground Branch, Escape from Tarkov, whatever tactical shooter it is, and like people who watch the content knows, like my way of playing the games is to how do I force my way through this game's mechanics to get you the most teamwork oriented, authentic experience possible, right? In Squad, like that was probably the first foray into it that I had, and that's where SquadOps was born. It's like, okay, the first experiment and the first successful thing was let's limit everyone to one life. That was the first thing. That's the most basic rule you can make in any tactical shooter anywhere that changes behavior the most, is making the death punishing. You get into things like Escape from Tarkov, where, hey, the cool thing about doing the Squad series in Escape from Tarkov was like death is already punishing there. I don't have to fake a rule. I don't have to force people to play a certain way. Death is punishing in Tarkov. Well, how do we get squad level stuff in Tarkov? Well, that's when you learn, okay, well, what do you need for an actual squad to function? Because Tarkov has zero squad support. People hate grouping because there's zero squad support. People end up shooting each other in the back. So that was like, at what level, what is the minimum amount of squad support needed to get people to work together? When you look at Arma 3 and you look at the large scale stuff, it's like, what are the assets on the map that are required for players to be able to have an enjoyable experience? Like, do you need helicopters? Do you need tanks? Do you need vehicles to move around this large scale thing? So it's pretty much all the lessons from that approach of every single game. It's like, okay, this game does this well, but this game needs this to achieve this effect. And then just taking that hodgepodge of things and understanding what influences player behavior in all these different games, and understanding how to crack it. And by cracking that formula for all the games, you kind of get the result of like, okay, I understand what makes you play this way. And so that is the most important thing. It's not necessarily like, oh, I like this gun attachment system, I think this is cool, or oh, I like the way they did this cool VFX technology or stuff like that. A lot of the stuff that I focus on and push and drive for is like, at the end of the day, what is going to make people play the way that I want them to play? That is at the core of everything. It's like no fluff, no nothing. It's like what is important to the experience that will make players use teamwork. Because I think Squad was public squad, which is, this might be a different statement nowadays, but public squad back in the day, because the community was so small, like you log on the server, 70% of the players playing, everyone's kind of working towards the same goal, like everyone's chatting on the mic, like it was, old Squad was back in my day, but old Squad was great. I want that magic back. That's the goal, because I want to play these games. I have stopped playing a lot of tactical shooters because I can't find that magic unless I force it, unless I super force it. I can force it in Arma, I can force it in Tarkov. I could probably go back into Squad and force it again, but I'm tired of forcing it through these experiences that we have now. Yeah, I don't have control. The modding thing in Squad, that burnt me the fuck out. Even modding in Arma and Arma Reforger, like I think mods are great. It's fantastic that the community can improve things, they can work together, they can create whatever content they want. But in my experience, like I'm ready for a full packaged, product that is of a product level of quality, where I'm not fighting mods, where I'm not trying to keep up to date with all these different modders who may or may not know how to program their mod properly, stacking these mods on top of each other and hoping every mod is compatible with every other mod, and hoping that all these mod creators continue to update their mods for the duration of the time that I'm using them, and that the game creator won't brick their mods. I'm tired of that. I've been doing this too long. I'm ready for a package experience that just has all of the stuff I want without any of the headache. I mean, there's a headache in a different way where now I have to make the whole thing from like scratch, but it's not like this over reliance on a whole bunch of factors that are outside of my control.
Man, I hate dealing with mods. Let me make a game.
What what do you kind of? I guess there's two questions here, and one you may not want to answer, and that's okay. And this other one's from chat specifically, so I'll give you both. You can answer both. You can answer one. You can answer none. I'll leave it up to you. The first question is, what is the thing that? What was the kind of light bulb moment for you in working on the development of this game that led you to think, you know, this is something that is achievable. This is something that I want to do beyond just like a couple of friends having a beer or, sitting and enjoying a meal and talking about something like this happening. I mean, you're making this a reality. So what was the light bulb moment for you where you said, okay, this is not just something we're going to scratch on a piece of paper and then throw it away a week from now. This is something we want to start, finding, money to produce it, putting our own funds into it. And I know you have other people in there as well. So what was the light bulb moment for you? So that's the first question. And then if you want to answer that, I'll save the second one. You're good. If you want to answer that,
I think that might be better because it might be better if we do one at a time. So it was like a combination of a whole bunch of small things, right? It wasn't necessarily, I didn't have one moment that happened where I was like, oh, aha, like we're doing this, like, oh, this is the big thing. It was more like looking back and just acknowledging all these small wins that we had, all the small advantages that were innate to my position, and just realizing that we could probably do something like this. And so like some of those things were having a YouTube channel, right? And showing that there's definitive interest in this kind of style of play. There's a definitive interest in these kind of games. And I have, an innate marketing advantage. It is a massive advantage to be able to market your own game. And that kind of leads me to the second, like, oh, this is possible moment was other content creators starting their own game studios. I wasn't the one to trailblaze that. That was done by a couple other people in front of me. And those people, I think, were super brave because some of those guys went into it blind. No other content creator had started a game development studio. And I know there's still a couple projects in development now. But seeing that, like, some people were, I wasn't the first one to make that virgin step. There were a lot of people. Yeah, there were a lot of people that were like, we can do it. I'm going to do it. And that gave me confidence as well. So there's definitely some individuals out there that I have to credit that for because they were, regardless of how their projects will end up or how, that stuff ends up down the line, they did give me the courage to say, hey, it is possible. It might be hard. It might be scrappy, but, these guys have the courage to do it. So, I'm going to give it a shot. And the third was like, all right, this is honest. This is completely honest. All right. This is 100% completely honest. I'll look back and I'll think, we can't handle it. Who is in a better position to make a game like this, right? I could wait for OWI. I could wait for Bohemia. I could wait for maybe some random game studio that I've never heard of that has no experience in the genre to come in and make the game. Or I could take all the thousands of hours of experience that I've had. Like there are very few people that have literally played the tactical and milsim games as a job. 24/7, like every day. Like there's very few people out there in the world that were able to do that. Who else could I rely on to, if I wanted to sit back and I want to just watch someone make this game, who would I trust to make it? And I didn't have an answer. I really didn't. Like I could sit on my hands and wait for the next thing from some of these companies, but I'll be honest, like I don't really have faith in what they're going to put out. Like that's the honest truth is that I think some of these games have, either pivoted or they have changed their strategy or they changed their vision or they're going after, a different market, whether it's console, whether it's casuals, whatever the case may be. I look back and I thought, who's going to continue holding the torch of like the hardcore tactical side? And I couldn't name anyone. If I could have named someone and if I could have pointed to someone, I wouldn't have started the project, I don't think. But the fact that, I in my eyes, I couldn't see that individual. Like I just felt like, hey, if I want to keep playing these games as a gamer, as someone who enjoys this and someone who wants specific features or certain things held in high regard throughout development, like I need to be able to participate or contribute in some fashion. to the creation of that. And I've taken part in multiple games, like consulting sessions or like giving games feedback or testing or whatever. And that was not, those don't go as you think they'll go. So yeah, despite what many people think, I've had zero influence in any of Squad's design choices. I've never been able to influence them to do anything. And like, yeah, a lot of game studios, I feel like they don't necessarily listen to feedback the way that you think they would or should. And so yeah, I kind of got tired of that as well as like just doing the consulting or testing side. I felt like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw my hat in the ring.
That's fair, and you're right that you're in a unique position to do it. There's not that many people out there that have the ability to have the social media marketing that you have, that have the bevy of people that you, not just yourself, but externally, that you've connected with through SquadOps, through your Karmakut Discord, through all sorts of different places, that can give you good, solid feedback and information as to like how to do this right the first time. And I think that if anybody's going to have a chance at doing this, this startup of a video game right the first time, it's probably yourself in this genre. I think that your sentiment is felt by many frustrated gamers here around the world. I mean, how many games have we had in the last? I'm going to say pre-COVID, 2019. How many games have we had that on launch fell on their face and just were not what was promised from the game development platform? There's so many of them. I mean, the big one for me that I was so looking forward to playing was Battlefield 2042. I thought that was going to be a great release. I thought it was going to be that itch that needed to be scratched with this massive game, that 100v100, 75v75, and it was just a fart in the wind. It did not go the way it was planned. So I'm glad that you're taking influence from people outside of yourself, and you're receiving it with the grace that you've received feedback for years now, managing this community and others. And I'm looking forward to seeing this thing play out. There's a couple specific questions here. I'm going to ask them. You don't have to answer them if you don't want to, but there's specific questions related to gameplay. I'm going to throw them at you. And if you tell me, hey, I can't answer any of those questions, then that's fine. If you can answer some of them, that's cool. These are from chat. So the first question was from Bao. This is regarding the trailer. He wanted to know how much of it was game footage versus announcement hype footage, as we've seen with many game developers. That game trailer looks super, super cool, but then you actually go play the game and you go from a 4K experience down to 720. Can you give us any input on that?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of that is actual gameplay footage. I'm not sure if Lon has talked to you guys. He has talked to you guys about this?
He did, and he was very... you know that I've signed an NDA. Lon has signed an NDA about certain things, and so he was very specific about saying that the methodologies that he used were specifically given to him by your team, and that he was able to do a lot of it through in the in-game system. But I guess
we talked more
wanted to hear
about,
from the horse's mouth. So
yeah. I think with Lawn Dance we talked more about the cinematography of it and how he did it. Right. Which was cool, but
yeah, a lot of that was shot in game. I mean, a lot of those shots there are literally me and the other guys are running through. There's probably hundreds of takes. There's probably bloopers. There's a whole other minute of footage that we shot that was scripted, that was cut because it just didn't fit for the timeline that we had. And we'll probably see the light of day at some point. But yeah, a lot of that stuff was done by us taking the guys in the match, having Lon sit in the admin camera, coding those camera settings for Lon, because I can do that now. I don't have to wait for a mod. I don't have to say, hey, we'd like a slow cam. We'd like the cam to have this gentle drift. and mess with the depth of field this way, or mess with the aperture settings this way. And I can just tell the developers, and they'll develop it, and they'll do it, they'll put it in, and then Lon can use it the next day. And it's super cool. It's super fast. But yeah, a lot of that stuff was done with him and the camera, and us just, we had a script, we had an idea of, we're like, okay, we're going to run here, I'm going to look there, blah, 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 blah. And we shot it live. There is some points of that footage that is done in the sequencer, like some of the smoother shots where like the characters are making other unique movements, like those have to be shot in the sequencer. But a significant of that and the footage that was cut was literally me and some of the devs and Lon in the cam, and just take 1, take 2, take 3, change your camera position, take 1, take 2, take 3, over and over and over again for probably 2 or 3 weekends.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And Lon had said that was one of the most rewarding things working with you guys, was him being able, and going back to the feedback part, right? Him being able to give directed feedback to you or whoever he was working with, the developer at the time or whatever, and saying, this is what the tool does, this is what I needed to do. And then the very next day, you guys have fixed the problem, and he's able to go back and field test it. That's really, really great. Seeing that level of anticipation happening, and having heard him say that, and then hearing it from the horse's mouth, I have no doubt that you guys are going to do some great things with this game. Are you ready for the next one?
Sure.
So Whiteside is asking if the players will be able to loot KIA friend or foes, full gear, specific equipment. Is that something you could talk about?
Partially. So keeping in mind what I said earlier is that, like, a lot of the experience that we want people to focus on is the actual soldiering or the execution of the engagement or the firefight. One of the things that we don't want to distract players with is, like, a lot of in-depth features are cool, and they have you can do a lot of cool stuff in Tarkov with all the gun parts or all the looting and whatnot.
Yeah,
but a lot of that
run
ends
away
up
from the game.
yeah, a lot of that can end up being a distraction. So I think from my perspective, this may or may not be in the game. The way I look at that question, or how I'd answer that question, is like, sustainment is important to the soldiering experience, right? And that's how I would approach this problem. Is like, from that perspective, if I want to have an authentic experience, what is an authentic level of exploitation or searching of the enemy or friendlies that I would expect to be able to do in the real world, and what gameplay implication does that have within the game, and how does that push that experience further, rather than having a gun customization system for the sake of a gun customization system, or a grid loot box system or looting system for the sake of being able to click and drag my socks and my whatever onto my body and pick up his water and whatever. So, like, what would I expect? How do we, once again, just stream shot straight to the core of why that experience is important in the soldiering environment, and then providing that. That's how I'd answer that.
Something like, and you don't have to give me a positive affirmation to this or negative, whatever you want, but something like, a typical special forces team is not going to go rocking 10 magazines and one of the gun, and 5 frag grenades. They're going to go in a little slick, a little slim. They're going to have 4 or 5, maybe 6 mags on their person, a pistol and a couple mags. And, if they run out of ammunition because they're in a sustained firefight, maybe the enemy's weapons are something that's available. Is that kind of the inference that you're making here? Is that the sort of sustainment that you're talking about, or is it a step
kind
more
of?
than that?
You touch on a little bit, which is like, the players can not necessarily exploit or abuse these systems, but if you create certain systems, then players will min-max the systems, right? So like, you see this in Armor Fortress. If you give players the ability to loot, you can see this case example, Armor Forger. You give players the ability to loot anything they want. They start putting on the enemy's equipment. The game turns into, like, this is no longer a Milsim game. This is fucking Trouble in Terrorist Town, and we're just trying to figure out who's shooting who, and everyone's wearing whatever they want to wear. So they restrict it, right? Okay, well, the next level now is like, what people complain about now is like, oh, everyone's this American dude has sucked up 300 of the supply with his RPG, his saw, and his 15 frag grenades and whatever. Like, there are levels to this, and this is just comes, like, for me, it's intuitive. For like a gamer perspective, like, obviously people are going to abuse certain systems if they're unrestricted or not set in a certain way, right? And so whenever we add these systems, like they're going to be implemented in a way that they are not abused outside of, they don't break the authentic feel of the experience. That's the very real answer I can give you, just because like
That's awesome. That's perfect. That's great. That's great.
I think you nailed it. They won't abuse it. They'll just min-max it. Like,
yeah,
that's naturally going to form.
They'll find a way to put 70 kilograms of gear on where,
Yeah.
you'd be crawling on the ground on all fours, sucking air. Yeah.
I'm light infantry, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Decent size.
There's a lot of questions here, so I'm gonna roll through these and then I'll let it go back to the other guys. Zeus type game mode like Arma, is that something that you'll have available? Is that something you're thinking of? Is that something you can talk about?
Honestly, I'm gonna answer this with another philosophy question.
That's good. That's good.
Another design point. It's a small team. It's an indie experience. There's, I think maybe we're up to like 30 people now, but we're very surgical in the goals and the execution of what we want to provide. Like I know I can close my eyes and I can picture exactly how the game is going to play. That's what we're building, is that very specific experience from the start. If we get the time, the money, the resources, and we get multiple years to develop further features, then and all great and good. But I want to deliver that idea in my brain right now that I have of the core PvP experience. Once we can attain that, once I'm happy with that, like who knows what we move on to next. But that is like first and foremost the goal in my mind.
Walk first, run later. Got it. Mod support, is that something you're looking at? Possibly.
Same answer.
Understood.
So.
All right.
I have a question. If you're taking any thing from Tarkov, will there be any Jaeger quests where I have to kill my comrade while being drunk and have a broken arm?
No questing in our game.
I'm still gonna do it though. But anyway, for different reasons.
Yeah.
The last question I have is, there's scenarios that you can play out. I guess we'll keep this to hypotheticals. This is something you thought of. There are scenarios that play out in real life as well as elsewhere, where the enemy is not particularly open about their presence, right? We saw that in Afghanistan. We saw that in Iraq. We see that, regularly on the news with, the Ukraine conflict and elsewhere, where the enemy is taking a lot of precautions to, appear to be anything other than, an infantry force. Have you given thought to, scenarios in which they could play out something, as far as like an interaction between a civilian and a soldier? Is that kind of on your radar for future, things further down the line once you guys figure out the walking portion of it, or is that or you want to focus on the small unit tactics?
That is definitely a little bit higher on the list than I think some of these other things that we've talked about, just because, like, as we mentioned, not only are we hitting a unique environment within the game, like Africa, or a unique time period, which is like that near future with all this drone warfare stuff, but the style of conflict is very specific. It is not just an FPS shooter. It's very much a counterinsurgency FPS shooter, right? And that might not be a lot of that nuance might not be commonly understood, amongst the general population, but there's certain aspects to a counterinsurgency operation that make it different from like a large scale combined operations conflict. And working with civilians and that ambiguity or that fog of war that is present, we want that to be a factor for sure. We want to emphasize that, hey, this isn't just log on, turn on the console, and friggin' hit play and just shoot people, blast two teams repeatedly until one team runs out of life. We definitely want to give you the feel that, hey, this is a counterinsurgency game. You are going in with your team with a very specific goal of rooting out indigenous forces, and the indigenous forces have a different playstyle. Like I said, we're going deep, not wide. That one faction, that one playstyle will have unique tools at their disposal to launch their insurgency or their guerrilla tactics, and we want that to influence the playstyle. I don't want it to be a live, die, shoot, repeater. Like that is, I've seen those, I've played those. Those get boring. I want to bring like a unique style of these larger FPS games to or not even unique. I'll be honest. It's kind of a revival. There's a lot of influence taken from, whether it's Project Reality or whatnot. That there's a lot of games that have touched it, that have danced with the idea, that have gotten maybe that first layer into that style of gameplay. But we want to go all the way. We want to make sure that we can really sell that experience to you.
Got it. That's awesome. I have run out of chat questions. I have a dozen other questions that I can field, but I want to make sure that everybody gets, question time. So, Ozzy, do you got any questions for Karma?
No, I mean the Zeus one was my big one, and then the bit about doing Jaeger Quest was my other fearful one. I mean, the next thing would be like, please tell me you're gonna add the SAS, but call it like the Jedi Force or the Republic or something instead. To be like, no, we're just doing a bit. But yeah, that's it. Otherwise, it'd be just the generic stuff. If we want to like get into like your history and stuff as a YouTuber, which would just be the easy stuff. Best video, worst video. And if you want to talk about any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're keep it to the current topic first. Let everybody get through that, and then we can definitely field those questions.
Yeah.
Fire, you got any questions for the man, the myth, the legend, Karmakut here?
Yeah, I mean, what is your title? Obviously you've owned this development studio. Like, would you say like you're like creative director, or you just like a manager? Like,
yeah, definitely creative. We don't really. We're hip. We're cool.
Like
we don't do titles.
We don't like
no, but yeah, I guess like I would be the creative director. Would be the most accurate title. Yeah.
So the guy's like, hey, how do you want this to play? Or how do you want this mechanic to work to further your vision, type of deal?
Yeah. So I work a lot with the programmers. I work a lot with even the art team, right? Like, how do I want this to look? How do I want the animation to look? How do I want? Yeah, pretty much giving people the guidance and the vision to make the thing come out how I want it to come out.
Vision in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Ross, you got any questions for him related to the new upcoming Bellum video game?
Yeah, kind of a question. Because I saw the trailer when it first came out, and I kind of compared it to a mix of Armor Reforger, Squad, Gray Zone Warfare. Is that a fair assessment? Would you be able to compare to, I guess, different games like?
Sure. If I were to explain the game using game terms to a prospective player, in the most simplified way I could, it would be the intimacy of Tarkov mixed with the accessibility of Squad, and the depth and the depth of Arma and Arma modding. By depth I mean like depth of systems, depth of tools, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
That would be the most current, easy way for me to explain that.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a question. Where'd you get the name from? Where'd you get Bellum from?
Bellum is
when I first
Latin
heard it,
for war.
Okay. Hey, dude, I'm a big fan of, especially when doing some like op boards and stuff. If you do a themed mission or whatever, just having something goofy and then converting it to Latin always works. You seem sophisticated as shit. Definitely buy that.
I'm guessing it's CV Spasm Parabellum.
Yeah. We wanted something simple, short, unique. And that was like, I think it was right on the money.
Absolutely. Vibe that for sure.
I've got 3 more questions from chat, and then we'll roll into some personal stuff if you're good with that, Colin.
Sure.
What steps are you taking right now to ensure a strong and engaged Milsim community around Bella? I think the first step you're taking is coming on our podcast, right? But what's the second step?
I hate saying this because it's so cringe. But it's very much by the community for the community. And so what I mean by that is this is not an outside, mobile game studio that's coming in and making the game in here, like a whole bunch of developers that just got money and like, we're like, oh, look at this genre, like this genre, we can make money or whatever. Like we can make a successful product here. Pretty much, let me think. Every single individual on the development team, every single individual has either played these games, has held a job in a game studio, who's worked in the genre, or has made mods in the genre. Every single person has played these games, is a fan of these games, or has even worked on some of the games you enjoy today. That is the first one. The second one is that I'm hooked in very closely with like a whole bunch of, whether it's squad communities, Arma communities, my own communities. Testing and feedback is like incredibly important to me, and I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to gather feedback from a whole bunch of members in the community really easily, whether it comes to authenticity or the gameplay feel or whatever the case may be. It is super easy for me to source a testing team of diehard milsim enthusiasts. And I think that, testing is a very important part of that equation of continuing to stay on target and within scope of expectations for the player. Those are the two biggest strengths that I'd say we have in regards to that topic.
Awesome. Do you have a message for the milsim community that's eagerly awaiting the release of Bellum?
Soon, TM.
That's good. That's good.
2 weeks, right? 2 weeks.
Soon,
Also,
TM.
2 weeks.
I know you said first and second, but I thought we had asserted that the first thing you were doing is coming on the pod. Anyway, it's fine. My heart's a little broken, but it's okay. Whiteside's asking, what is Karma's current feelings of the game when testing and recording? Is it kid in a candy store, mind-blowing, or is it business-like? I.e., that playthrough was dope and exhilarating, or more so looking for issues and things that could be changed? So are you focusing more on the creative side, or are you focusing more on the business side?
Definitely both. It's definitely both, depending on the day, depending on what we're doing. A lot of the times, the vast majority of the time, it's like every day is Christmas. Every day I'm opening up a new present. I'm seeing new progress. I'm seeing new things being worked on, new things being finalized. As soon as it is hot off the press, like there's a part of me that has like a childlike glee when I open up my Discord every morning when I wake up and I scroll through the channels and I see the progress and what people are working on. Like that is a dream, especially coming from the content creator side. Like, oh, I want to, I always want to get the latest news or whatever so I can cover it or whatnot. But now I live that every day. So there's definitely an aspect of that where I'm super excited every day to scroll through and see what's going on. There are definitely also times where I boot up the Discord and we're in a testing session and things aren't, just as they go. In any game studio, things aren't always perfect. Things aren't always functioning the first time you do it. There's always problems, bugs, issues, that are going to pop up throughout the lifetime of the game in development. And there's some days where it's like, oh god, like this is broken again. This change, we added this and this messed this up, and it is like, it's a little bit of a harder day because it might feel like one step forward, two steps back, or look on the surface one step forward, two steps back. But I definitely feel more excited 100%. But yeah, it's work. It is work at the end of the day. There's a lot riding on this. I have massive expectations and hopes for my own project. This is my reputation I stake on this thing. This is what I'm bringing, it's not like, it's kind of like my baby, I guess you could say, that is coming to the world. Like I want it to be the best that we can make it when it is publicly available. And sometimes, you are just in the nature of the universe and the world and life, you are going to run into days that are just harder, or are not going as expected. And those days are just like, I think how anyone would, approach or experience that day.
Fair enough, man. It sounds like you are absolutely loving what you're doing right now, and that's amazing. That's exactly where you need to be. You love it, it's not work.
Yeah.
The last question on this topic is Tertaris. I'm just going to answer this real quick. Is the setting just Africa or other theaters planned? So far, what they've showcased on the release is just Africa. Karma, do you want to
Same thing.
I'm sure you can't say. Got it.
We're going deep.
Perhaps.
So yeah, we'll
right.
we'll go wide when we can, but we're going deep for everything.
Let's just get Africa right for the first one, and then come back to it.
Then maybe delve. So I would like to see a game made in Korea. There's been nothing ever, and I'm a little sad that is a field that's never been shown in a video game that people can have an experience with. I thought for sure Call of Duty was going to do something with all the Vietnam stuff they were doing, but they never did. Maybe it's an active war, so maybe that's part of the problem. But I don't know.
There was some advanced warfare missions. I think
it was the first one,
maybe.
Then you never saw it again.
Nope.
So the big question people are asking, this is asked by a couple of people, is how can they get involved with this? Is there a way for them to do beta testing, give you suggestions? Is there like a helpline that they can call out to, when they need to salivate a little bit over this video game, or are they stuck, just watching the trailer at this point? What can you share for now, and what could you possibly share for the future for these people that might want to be involved?
Yeah, right now everything's pretty specific as far as who's involved with the testing and the feedback. It's all closed. It's all invite only currently, just because we're still pre-alpha. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of things that need to get fixed. But we'll have an announcement pretty soon here about the future steps and what's planned and how what's going on. Yeah.
Well, actually, one lucky viewer were able to be a full-time beta tester.
Sponsored by Bellum. They're going to pay you
volunteer
for it too.
only.
No. Lock that back. He's going to leave the chat. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, what? I guess we'll kind of delve into some personal conversations here, if you're okay with that. Kind of changing gears just a little bit. And I know we appreciate you taking the time to sit here with us. So at any point, you can cry uncle and let us know, hey, I've had enough of the Gestapo talk here. What?
We will ask the questions.
Exactly. What got you started in content creation when you did, number one? And number two, do you have any advice for someone that might want to be starting in that content creation realm now? Whether it's gear, workflow, mindset, that kind of stuff.
I got started simply because I loved these games. I loved Squad. I love Squad so much I wanted to share it with other people. That's how much I love the game. And it was very easy back then. It was a different time. It was a different YouTube landscape where you could just upload footage. You didn't have to edit. You didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to title the video correctly. I straight up just uploaded. And people enjoyed how authentically engaged and how much I was enjoying myself with the game. That's part of that is still true to this day. As in the core of what gets viewers to watch, in my opinion, is if like one of the base level requirements is that you are authentically engaged. I can tell from watching the footage that you either love or you hate or you feel strongly about whatever you are doing on the camera when that button is being recorded. That's the first bare minimum thing that is required for viewership, is that you are engaged on another level deeper than probably anyone that they have ever seen, regarding whatever subject matter you're covering. That's how I got started. It was just me uploading stuff that I enjoyed, and of course I had to refine over the course of years the thumbnail stuff, the title stuff, what content to capture, whatever. But all that stems from loving whatever it is. And when you love whatever it is, those ideas come rather easily, I would say. Or not easily, but your brain is always working towards it because you love it. And it's just, it comes more naturally. I'd say more naturally than if someone's trying to crack a code or algorithm just for the sake of cracking it for whatever reason, monetary or otherwise.
The saying is, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to an extent, but like loving something gives you different ideas as well. It's not necessarily just like, oh, I can do exactly what I'm doing over and over and over forever. It is the idea that, oh, I love this. How do I make this better? How do I? It makes you think about it a certain different way. Not just the whole fact of like you have to keep doing it, but it's the ideas that it gives you. because those unique ideas are the next level for viewership. Is like, okay, do you love it? All right, now what is your unique spin on this thing that you love? That would be the next step to capturing an audience, in my opinion. I mean, times have changed. There's a whole other I'm a little bit out of the game, right? Because like on the honest perspective, I don't love a lot of these games right now. Like I really just don't. I love door kickers. That's why I upload door kickers all the time these days. But like content creation is great when it's great. But if you run out of things to love, it is hard. It is super hard because you're either faking enthusiasm on camera at that point, or you run out of ideas, and that becomes, it's golden handcuffs at that point. So yeah, you really have to love content creation, I think, or be a psychopath. Those are your two options if you're getting into the industry, in my opinion.
If you find it tough. At 20 subscribers, 200,000 is going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of play out with a number of the streamers that we've had contact with here at SquadOps, where they either, as you're saying, they love the thing that they're playing and they kind of put themselves in the role. Like, I think it's a fair assessment to say that initially your total focus was on Squad, and that was what you were known for a long time. And then the development in Arma was a natural progression, but it was a change. You had a new love that you found.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these guys never find that new love. But then there's these other guys that just love that media content creation. That's the thing they love. It doesn't matter what they're playing. They love the audience. They love the show. The perspective of having a chat that they're talking with, or putting something out there for people to view. And I think personally, the development I saw of you from late, well, I guess mid 2017 into early 2020 was you really started delving into the cinematic stuff. I remember a number of those cinematic things that we as a community kind of rallied behind you to develop for those things. I mean, you were in another level, and you were finding another love for that content creation again. Is that kind of the feeling that you're trying to reach for again here now? Is just finding that next high point, before it plateaus out? Or do you feel that this is a high point that you're just going to continue to carry on, since this is something that you're so enamored with?
Interesting answer. Like doing this, venturing on this journey, like the game dev journey, has been both a high and a low. It's been bittersweet for a couple different reasons. The first is that, I found that next thing that I love. And what I had to realize over time was that I don't actually love content creation. I don't actually love social media. I don't actually love being a big, quote unquote, I hate the term, influencer or content creator. I don't actually like that stuff. I'm super introverted in real life. I don't like, outside attention at all, really. And like all the schmoozing or the, I think, the game has changed for one. Like by the game, I mean content creation. But what I realized that I love, what I had to break down and look at, is like, I loved playing these games a certain way and sharing it. And that was the base of it, right? That was the end stop, full period. Was that I love playing these games a certain way, and I love sharing that experience with others. That's literally why SquadOps was born. That's literally why the other Karmakut Milsim communities were born. And this game is an extension of that mindset. It's like, it is me loving this experience and sharing it with you. I've changed the way I'm sharing it with people. I'm sharing it through an actual game now, and not through footage or hosting events. But that's what I realized I loved about what I was doing. And content creation was just a super, super, super lucky coincidence. That was, part of that journey. It wasn't necessarily like the end all be all of like, oh, I'm a content creator, full stop. I love content creating. I love making videos, and, the thousands of views and whatnot. I just love creating authentic, like very specifically, probably a mental illness to some degree. I very much enjoy creating milsim experiences and sharing it with other people. That's what I love to do. And we'll move from the video format to the actual game format. And so that's so like, I kind of view myself as leaving the content creation scene for sure, because a lot of my focus now is in the game dev. I don't spend the time I used to editing videos or uploading content or focusing on like streams or viewership or numbers or anything. So it is just a big change, which I think like a lot of people can relate with to any change in life. Because I've been doing it for 10 years or so now. It is different. I am leaving something behind to a degree as I start this new format.
That's awesome, man. That's a very that's an answer I wasn't expecting. So that's awesome for us to hear. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So you touched a little bit on the creation of SquadOps. Did you you started this with the intent of trying to show people the thing that you loved, and it turned into a passion project that turned into whatever this monstrosity is that we have now. What at what point did we talked about, I'm going to use the term seasons of life, right? Because I'm in a different season of life. Frost is, Fire is, Ozzy is than where we were 10 years ago. Everyone here is, right? And this new season of life, how many other developments do you think that you've really kind of walked through? When you created SquadOps, it sounds like for the purpose of kind of showing the love that you have for this game, and then it devolved from there to what it is now. What other seasons were high points for you throughout your time here?
Sure. If I could look back, SquadOps was like, I think of SquadOps like I think you think of like your first job.
Okay.
Where it's like, I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of experimentation here. Kind of drinking water through a fire hose, figuring things out on the fly and adapting quickly. I saw
your first girlfriend, right?
Sure. Your first major, event or whatever. Like it was the first. That was a completely brand new experience to me. I had no idea what I was, really doing. I kind of have a semblance of what we wanted to do, and I had a band of guys, right, the ops guys that kind of wanted to go in that same direction. And that was the first era. That was definitely the first era. At the mid to end of that first era, which I think is maybe like 5-ish years, maybe a little more. I started getting tired of that job to a degree, or I saw the problems with that job. And I'm not necessarily talking about SquadOps in general. I'm talking about like Squad even, right? Because SquadOps is tied to Squad. I remember having countless discussions, even back then, of like, I don't like the direction Squad is going. I talk to these guys over there and they're not listening, or I don't like what I hear. And it's just like, for me personally, I saw the end of my Squad journey happen back then. I could just sense it. That the things were changing, and I just was not bought into what they were selling anymore. And at that point, it was like, okay, well, what's the next thing I can go to? And right, that was like the next season, as you talk about, or then that growing experience. That next move was very much Arma, right? Because that's where the big boys play. Okay,
right.
But Arma was the next natural evolution.
It's 500,000 people playing every week versus 25,000 people playing every week. I get it.
Yeah, I was just joking. But Arma was
no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong though.
Yeah, Arma is where those people who go to like, all right, how do we crack this insane, monstrous game and make it exactly how we want to make it for the most in-depth, authentic, military, cringe LARP simulator we can? And so that was the next project, or like the quote-unquote second job. And during that time, we
attacked.
We're talking salutes. We're talking about flags on backpacks. We're talking.
Yeah. So that was when I started like learning about the Arma 3 unit lore and like what the deal is there, what mods to use, what certain people who the certain people in the community were, whatnot, and so on. And that was like the next. That was the next task, because that was like when I had more control, right? Because Zeus gives you a lot more control than Arma or Squad SDK gives you. and that's where we could really start figuring certain things out. I guess we also missed like a mini season in like the first job, which is like at the tail end with like the occupation mod or the dynamic direction mod in Squad. That was, I think, what interested me in Arma is like, I want more control. I don't want my mod to die for 2 years or whatever, or however long, because OWI can't figure out what's wrong with their mod SDK process. I think that was the straw on the camel's back, was the whole modding debacle for however long that took. That was absolutely soul crushing, because me, Rubba, Rosa, or Pony, right? Like, we spent hours upon hours in that thing, hundreds of hours probably, if not thousands, working on mods for that, and it's just a waste of time. It just ended up being a waste of time. It was just super inefficient. That was probably what put the nail in the coffin, was that experience. I know we revived it a little bit, but it was just an unpleasant experience. It was an unpleasant experience for the result we were getting. So we moved to Arma, started doing more Arma things, because that is definitely, like, they're just experienced with it. Like, Bohemia just knows how to deal with mods better than anyone else in the genre, and so it's a much more stable working environment. And so I was able to experiment there a lot better. And so I'd say that arc I'd call the Karma Community Liberation arc. And that was a super interesting project. That was a really fun project. Like, Liberation is this existing game mode set where you have like a persistent map, and you have, over 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, players can come on, take objectives, and progress through the map against AI. And that was super cool to tweak and twist as however we saw fit, adding in like dynamic Op4 groups, adding in anti-air batteries, adding in artillery systems. And that experiment was like, okay, how far Milsim can we push a public community? How far, like, how crazy can we get with having a 24/7 Milsim server? So that's how I define that arc. And we did a lot of testing there of like, okay, what makes groups stick together? What prevents lone wolfing when an admin's not watching? What systems affect, player behavior over time with minimal admin influence? Because that was the thing. SquadOps is a different experience, because every player has, like, you got an ops event team guy hovering in the sky, like, hey, bro, stop doing that. but in Arma, like, for a 24/7 server, you can't have that. So it's like, okay, how do we engineer things to a way that, like, we can run this without having player guidance directly managed? And so that was a cool experiment. It was also a cool experiment because that arc ended in the PvP arc. So we cracked the PvE thing, having like 100 dudes on the server at a time versus freaking hundreds, if not thousands, of AI simultaneously, and that was simulated. That was like, holy crap! That was like that's a super cool experience, because that is like, that feels like a front line. You got guys running cast, you got infantry on the ground, you got guys running armored squads, 24/7. Anytime you hop in, you jump in, and there's some op going on, and it just feels organic. And that was super cool for a while. And then we started experimenting with, like, okay, what happens if we put Op4? Now we're getting into the spicy stuff, right? This is where a lot of people think Milsim falls apart, is when you start doing the PvP stuff. And that's where I got some of the most insane gaming experiences of my life, was Op4 on the Karmakut Community Liberation server, because you have an actual enemy team working as a real platoon would, with no, like, event guidance or admin management, and then you have an Op4 element working as an Op4 team would in that, kind of situation, environment with using tactics on both ends that, like, relied on teamwork, were super punishing, and that was as authentic as I think we got it outside of what we're trying to achieve now. And that was I'm having, like, flashbacks as I think about some of the firefights in that experience. It's like setting up ambushes. Yeah, you're literally, like, maneuvering out behind enemy lines. You're sitting there literally waiting. Sometimes, like, it takes, the videos are cut down. All right. The videos are cut. Sometimes it takes just like hours to get the ambush because we have to analyze where they're going on the map. We have to look at the terrain and where they're going. And then we have to like plot the way to get there without getting spotted by the drone or getting airstriked or getting artillery, which happens plenty of times. And then we have to sit there, be patient. But when that is pulled off, like seeing a whole platoon of guys or squads of guys move across an area on their own because of their own decision, and it's organic to them, and you have an element of surprise, which I think is unique to the 24/7 experience. It is super cool, because the problem with doing the SquadOps stuff or the short events is that there's a general understanding from the player base there that something is going to happen within this 2-hour time frame. I'm going to be engaged by a human player at some point in time during this. But when you open it up to a 24/7 experience, you get that realistic complacency, or you get that, you get an actual element of surprise where guys are not aware of what is about to happen, and you can really execute some really interesting things within that environment. So that was deep.
Nope. Nobody wants to do 24-hour duty until somebody has to do 24-hour duty, right, Frost?
Good point. That's a good point.
I'm just going to label this as Karma. Karma does 1980s Boeing. Lots of cocaine and good vibes and lots of good product placement. All right, I've got that noted for this season of life.
We shit talk Boeing last episode. I don't think we can do it again. We can't shit talk Boeing again. 2 podcasts in a row.
Well, listen. We're not going for Boeing. Remember, we're going for Raytheon. This podcast is actually sponsored, but anyway. Yeah. Karma becomes the Wolf of Wall Street. That was a comment just for you.
I don't know about that.
That's awesome, man. The passion that you're having for this is just amazing, and I want to thank you for giving us kind of an insight into that part of your mind. Is there anything else you want to talk about that point? Like, we got a few other questions. We got a few other questions, and we're running close to that 90-minute mark, which we talked about was, where we were going to kind of slow the ramp down. I don't want to hold you any longer than you want to be here. I know you're a busy man, but you seem enthusiastic. We're enthusiastic to have you here. So as long as you're here, we'll be here. I've got
want
to give you the off ramp if you need it. So
yeah, no, I'm good on time here. But yeah, that's like season 2 was the Arma arc, and then season 3 was just like, what other games could we break? I mean, we not break, but what other games could we force the teamwork in, and what failed? So we did the ground branch stuff. That, like, you learn something new in every game you try to do that play style in. Like ground branch had the breaching mechanics and the flashbang mechanics, and those are super cool. You learn a lot there. You learn a lot in Tarkov. Tarkov. I think that if I look back at like which of my gaming seasons I had the most fun, it was probably like the Tarkov stuff was super interesting, because I felt like that was how that game was supposed to be played. That's how it's marketed, is like squads going in, fucking shit up together, using tactics to where, like, that's the entire market. Any raid video you watch, any trailer, like, yeah, that is how the game is supposed to be played. Yeah. Or like any of these games, like, it is so hard to get what they're actually selling you in the video. It is super hard to get the experience that they're marketing. And so like the Tarkov one though was the specific one that stands out in my mind, where like, this is how the game was supposed to be played. Because using team tactics in Tarkov is crazy fun. There's no HUD, there's none of that stuff. You have to communicate. There's no and that's where you learn, okay, this is what is important about a revive system. This is what's important about a loot system. How much buddy medical affects teamwork. Because there's an absence of it versus like in other games. And the Tarkov experience was super cool, because I think that is, graphically speaking, or like visually, like at a quality level, it is higher than anything else that I played. Just because Arma's so old, and Squad looks old. I don't know why it still looks old, but Squad just looks old. But Tarkov was like, holy crap, this feels like the game that I should be playing right now, with this kind of play style. And it's a shame that it is not played this way, and everyone's lone wolfing. And ratting around, and that is what this game is. And so it was
Yes, ratting.
yeah. Yeah, it was a fun experience, and we played with like a lot of the ops guys in that too. I know Rain and Snow hopped in for that stuff. I still play with a lot of the old ops guys throughout a lot of these events, and even Ops Pugachev, he voiced in the trailer. Londars did the recording, so yeah, I'm still hooked in with like a good portion of the general community, and it's cool to. It was super cool when I announced the project to have like a lot of old school guys reach out like from like literally the beginning of ops and go like, holy crap, I just saw the trailer, man. This is what I want. And it's like, yeah, I'm bringing the gang back together. We're making the next game that like all these old guys that they left and they stopped playing Squad or Milsim or whatever, like they looked at it and they're like, dude, you're doing it. This is what I want. And I was like, that was
Season
super
4,
rewarding,
baby.
super validating. Yeah. Cause yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for those guys that like want that experience that can't get it anywhere else. This is what we're building for you.
All right,
Awesome.
hear me out. Your next Milsim adventure, your next season, okay? War or rights?
Oh my god.
Talk about
That's too
Milsim,
funny.
dude. There's something about Milsim about, telling the guys left face, right
Gentlemen,
face, forward march,
I'm gonna put you on some game, okay? The Roblox Milsimmers are of a different level,
Spit some
okay?
ball, dude.
The Roblox Milsimmers, okay? They're like those guys are. I'm telling you, that's gonna be a real thing soon. Like some of the mods that they have is actually insane. Some of the groups running in those in the Roblox game, like you think
Yeah,
it'd be
I've
something
seen
else,
some
but
clips. Yeah, they're
those
they're
guys
a little
are
too.
charging.
Some of them are a little too deep into it,
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
think you can say too deep into it just after recommending war rights. I feel like that's a bit of a
okay.
paradox there.
They're
That's a bit of
time period accurate slurs. Okay, that's perfectly.
Okay, moving on. Question from chat. Do you ever think that you'll make a return to Squad, even as a one-op, especially with the UE5 update coming and the cool new things that Rosa and Death Ripper and the ops group here have cooked up for our mod? Is it possibly something that we could talk you into as coming out for a one-night session with Karma, playing in maybe one of our new multi-life events or scenario Sundays or something like that?
extra life.
I'd say it's definitely a possibility. Yeah, I'll be honest though, like running COG as well as the game studio, like that's is a lot of my time. It's just a time thing at this point. It really is. I mean, COG used to run trainings Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the op Saturday. Like that was a super hardcore time, and we've gotten it down now a little bit, but that is where a lot of the time is spent, just because like those guys are super. This Arma offers a different experience than I think Squad ever could, and it's tough. It's super tough. But like because I remember being exactly on the opposite side of this conversation with I forget who it was in ops telling me, Squad isn't that great. Come over to Arma. Like Squad, you can't do anything, right? And like I remember sitting there and thinking, bro, Squad is fine. What are you talking about? Shut up. Go away, Arma player. But it is true.
Right.
Once you play Arma, it is and you crack it and like you figure out a community, you figure out a group experience and whatever. And you get into a unit and you're spending time in it. It is super hard to go back into certain games, just because the quality of the experience is different to what you are now used to. It is so funny because like I remember being on the opposite side of this conversation. I think just shut up, Arma player. Just shut up, go away. But it's different. It is different. And I know Ops has tried a couple Arma events and whatnot. But yeah, I think that kind of. I think as I look back on it too, I think that kind of speaks to like how Squad. I don't know if it's Squad change or I change. Probably a little bit of both. But I think the average Squad player is a little bit more casual, obviously, than the average Arma player. And also, I just grew more in depth with like the more hardcore, authentic things than what Squad was offering, and so it was just a natural departure. Yeah, but I do see, there's I think it's possible. I don't think it's impossible. I think there's a day where I have time and I show up for an event, but yeah, a lot of the COG stuff is on the same time slots, I think.
I think we can schedule something there, bud.
Here's what we're gonna
awesome
do.
stuff in the
You
box.
give us a date and time that you're free, and we will put something on the calendar. And I'm telling you right now, if people knew that you were coming back out for a squad event, they would pull all the stops out, man. They'd love to have you back for just a one-off. And I know you can't commit to doing anything more than that. And I'm not asking you to commit to anything right now. But if you could give me a date and a time that you say, I will be here this date and I will be here this time, I would put a lot of effort and time into making that as perfect as we can. So
all right, no, sounds good. We'll see if we can make something happen.
Calendar coming back for one event, man.
Exactly. Maybe we
I'm
can get
gonna
Barton
love it
to download Squad on his laptop. And
oh man, the cheese man.
Cheese man, yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but my dinner tonight is Wisconsin cheese in honor of Barton.
I bet he kept sticking his ends into your lip or something.
That's a little. That's yeah, like 19 of them in a row. God, what do you think I am?
Dude, I don't know these people at work. You don't know these people I work with, dude. I watched the guy pull out six one time, six mils, and I was like,
just
no,
lay him down.
It just
at that point,
they
sell 24 milligram. Like anyway,
yeah. We said the 24s don't give him the same run. Anyway,
LaFlash, if you were offering to send me Wisconsin cheese right now, I will do some strange things for Wisconsin cheese sent to me. So that is a bet.
Hey,
don't worry about that.
Let's talk about a block of Parmesan. Let's go.
I know that's been something that we've tried to figure out. I found you a wheel of Parmesan, but you were like, I got to split it between 4 people or my wife will kill me.
Where's the government cheese cave? Someone let me know the location. Drop it in chat. I will be there tomorrow.
It's in Wisconsin. I think we've already talked about that.
Yeah.
All right. Karma. Circling back, what is your fondest memory of SquadOps? And you can't say, "Oh, this op was super cool." Like, if you can think about a memory within SquadOps that was just like, it's the thing that sticks in your mind. What is it? What's the memory?
I remember the op that we ran for OWI where the SquadOps Twitch made like top 30 on all of Twitch. That's what I remember. That was a big one for the community. That was a big W for the community. That was I remember looking back and going, that's kind of crazy that we did that. That was a cool stream. That was a cool time. What else? The first meetup that we did, the first Vegas meetup was super cool. That was a cool memory. What else? There's like a whole bunch of moments. So like sometimes I'll pick through my YouTube channel and I'll go through my old videos and I'll watch like certain ops. Like that helicopter op on what was it, Al-Basra, I think it was. That One Life op was super cool.
The rooftop landing one?
Yeah, the rooftop landing one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was one where I don't even like, that's one that where it plays out and you're like, is this real life? Like, did that actually happen? Like this is such an insane event that happened, and we were able to capture it on video, and the extra, like I even like edited in the raw comms for the extra of that op, and it's just like you can hear the disbelief in my voice as they get him off the rooftop. That was a super cool one. What else? There's like all those kinds of moments of like, yeah, a lot of good memories. There's too many good memories. There's too many, but like,
what's good
for achievements? It was definitely when the team hit top 30, and then I'm trying to think. There's just other funny moments in operations. It feels like a lifetime ago though. Like as I think about it now, and it was like we're probably talking 6+ years ago at this point. This is just it's been so long. I remember the first time we ran our first op on Logar. And how we had to set that up and like getting the guys to follow the road, like, oh, you're clearing the obstacles on the road. I remember setting up the first op. That was super cool. I remember the first testing before the first op where we had to, we were rescuing, like we had someone faction switch change or something. You're moving an HVT through Logar. God, yeah, I'm just, it's a lifetime of memories, honestly. There's one other one that was on the tip of my tongue, and then I got distracted. Yeah, there's been. I remember when Dashby's balls dropped, and I realized I've been here too long. This is too much. I'm hearing all these speakers turn into actual human beings, and their voices are dropping. I was like, this is too. I need to leave. I've been here too long.
One of these boys become men, dude.
And I was like, oh my god, like who is this? Like, who's talking to me right now? Like, I don't even recognize what you sound like anymore. That was a big memory. Yeah.
I had the same thing happen with Mr. GG the other day. I don't know if you remember Mr. He was like probably a 13-year-old kid in 2019, and he hadn't been around for a little while. He came back in 2023, and he's been back since then. And his voice went from sounding like a child to having a man's voice, and that was a strange thing to experience. So I understand and commiserate with you entirely. That's hilarious. Okay, what's the cringiest thing that you can think of in your time here? Yeah. What's the weirdest
Dashby
thing?
Said.
What's the weirdest? The most uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
The most uncomfortable. That first. The first ops meetup was obviously uncomfortable just because but that was only uncomfortable for the first 10 minutes, and then your brain just attaches the face to the voice, and it's literally all four of us have been talking there for forever for we've been best of buds our whole life. That was when I realized oh, that's super funny how online friendships work. Where fuck, I don't recognize this person in front of me, and then you hear them talk, and it's your brain just goes oh, this person's completely fine. That is a cool or a funny switch. What
about a certain cringe? What about a certain someone developing a certain unique apparel item for his bed?
Oh yeah.
Remember? Frost, you want to show us?
Respect, man. Respect. You followed through with the bit. I don't even I can't be mad at that. He's a man of commitment. What can I say?
Show us the body pillow, Frost. Show it. You gotta show it.
Can I give a backstory real quick?
No, you gotta show the body pillow, and then when you show the body pillow, you give the backstory.
He's gotta turn the camera on.
Oh man, now. See, it's funny. It's funny you bring this up because it's right here.
That's crazy.
So there he is. That's the man right there, right? And then of course, we have the backside here, right?
The clean
he just took it out of the dryer, dude. He had to wash this thing.
It was a little crusty, that's for sure. It was definitely a little crusty.
So
it was standing up on itself in the corner before he threw it in the washer.
Yeah.
It was a solid sheet. It made a crack sound when he put it in.
He had to fold it in half.
They've been using it as an ironing board, actually.
So the backstory is right. It was a thing. It was oh, we should get body pillows, it's merch,
It wasn't a thing. You made it a thing.
You made it a thing.
Fair enough.
This idea forward, but Frost is we should have body pillows.
So
everyone is asking for this body pillow. Everyone.
You guys are making it way.
Everyone wanted one,
You're making a big deal out of nothing here. But anyway, at some point, I was just okay, well, hold on. Let me back up. Right. So we had our meetup in Texas that Happy hosted in 2022. Maybe 20. Yeah, I think it was 2022. Right. So we we hosted a meetup in Texas where a bunch of us, I think there were 13, 15 of us that had met up. I met Morgan, I met Fire, a whole bunch of other guys from Ops. And I was just man, this is really cool, And a few months later, I was just let me see if I can make this this body pillow thing a reality. And I asked Karma, I was hey, how would you feel about this being a thing, And I DM'd him, and he's LOL, yeah, whatever, don't care. thinking it was just a fucking joke. Well, it ended up not being a joke, right? Because you saw it. I made it, and the absolute intent was to get this done before our next meetup, which was in Pennsylvania, 2023. It might have been still 2022. I'm not sure.
23.
To get this body pillow down to my house, mailed to me, whatever, after I customized it. Take it to the paintball get together, which there were another probably 10, 15 people there. Have everybody sign the body pillow. And then I was going to ask Karma for his address and mail it to him and say, hey, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to get sentimental here. The reason we're able to make this meetup is because you brought us together with SquadOps, because that's how we all met, right? And the body pillow didn't get to my house in time, so I was never able to bring it to the paintball meetup. And I've forgotten to take it to every other meetup I've been to, just because life.
Oh, not forgettable,
busy,
dude.
He had
moving.
to
Whatever you
rent an
call it.
industrial washing machine, and it was a whole thing. It
Oh,
just.
listen, that's rude. But
What's rude
anyway,
is the
so I
stain.
never got everybody to sign it. I never got Karma's address. Never got to mail it to him. But that was the original intent. Was like, hey, like you're the reason this was possible for us to meet up and all that.
I appreciate that.
The proof is right here. It's at the top of the pillow, right? Well, it's backwards, I guess, but it says SquadOps Meetup 2022, right? So we're all gonna
I'm there
sign
in
it.
spirit, except
Damn right.
100%. You need to come out to one of these one time. Like you said, that whole experience of like meeting people for the first time. I think we've talked about it on the podcast before.
Plenty of
But
time. Sure.
Frost shows up to my house, right? And we're going to hog hunt. So there's implements of tools of destruction involved. Firearms, knives, spears, things of that nature. Whatever will kill a pig. He shows up to my house, and we load $40,000 worth of firearms into the back of his Jeep. And this is the first time I've met this guy. It was a very quiet, awkward hour. I would say the first hour was a little awkward between the two of us.
For sure.
And then by the time we made it to Dallas, we grabbed a beer. Everything was good. But I totally understand the point you were making. I was reminiscing in my head of like when we sat down and had breakfast the next morning with all the guys, and everybody was just like, "So, I guess we're all here." I just imagine that's exactly what happened in Vegas the first time.
What's up, guys? Hey,
yeah. How did
fired.
that first meetup go, Karma, in Vegas? Was that kind of like just like a life-changing experience? It's like, oh god, I know that voice. Finally get to put a face to it. Kind of weird thing, or how was that?
It was more of like I can't believe we're doing this kind of feeling for sure. In both aspects of it, like oh my god, they're kind of crazy. And then also, and they're like, oh, this is kind of cool. I can't believe like we convinced people because I know Digit flew internationally, or we had people fly from out of the country, to meet up, and that was cool. Like I was like, oh, these guys aren't just driving or taking like an hour flight. Like some of these guys love the group so much or wanna meet people so bad that they made a journey to get out to do it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it was yeah, it was fun. It was cool. Yeah, no, it was a good time. The first one was super good. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I'll be honest, we drink a little too much at these things. So I'm trying to like remember some things and like did I black out? I can't remember what happened. But yeah, no, it was a good time. It was a good time. Well, it's always a good time. Every single one I've been to.
One of the big things for us starting this ops cast, like 4 ops 1 couch thing, is when you guys did those ops casts back in the day. And I think you did one in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken.
We did do one in Vegas.
So we did
two in Vegas. I can't remember.
That was kind of the methodology behind it here, was like seeing the things that you guys were able to do there and recognizing that there is some usefulness in putting out, some of the historical aspects of stuff and just talking to interesting people, man. Letting the rest of the community and whoever else happens to watch the Twitch at that time know a little bit about what this community is and the people that make it up. That's really the resource and tool we're looking for here. So you've been inspiring in more than one way, if that makes you feel better.
Appreciate that.
I think a big part of it as well was COVID, where we went insane. We were like, we should do a podcast because we all had so much free time on our fucking hands, like everybody else during COVID.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to see that you guys are still going after. Yeah, do we know how many years exactly?
So 20. I can tell you right now. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I can give you the date. I just need to pull it up here.
August 16th, 2016. It looks like.
Jamie, do that meme where it's the dude at the casino table with all the numbers flying by his head.
So it's April 16th, 2016 was the origination date. Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're rolling up on 9 here in literally a month. A month from today will be 9.
It's actually
that's
insane.
amazing.
That's actually insane. That is crazy. I mean, as far as I'm tracking as well, SquadOps is one of the very few of the oldest squad communities still around. Right? Is Friday Night Fight still going, or was it what do they call it? Friday?
No,
FNF.
no. So Friday Night Fights is all evolved into Arma. It's their next season of life, man.
Wait, did they go to Arma too?
They went to Arma, yeah. And then the squad group that was so it's the Finnish group that used to do squad, the Finnish Defense Forces group. They've all moved over to Arma Finland now. They've been doing that for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
a lot of them
crazy. I did not know that was the same Friday Night Fight group. I thought it was a different one.
No, that's the same.
It'll be different from what you knew it as.
Yeah, it's the same methodology and the same core. Like Carrie and a couple of the other guys are the same core from back in the day. But it is probably much like SquadOps, right? Where I think really the only manager from back then would have been myself and
probably Peach.
Peach, yeah. Like Phoenix has stepped down, and everybody else is gone. So there's only 2 of us left, which is kind of a crazy thing. I don't even know if I count, so I'm just the manager of the human resources team. But we process all the staff applications. Barton's watching. He sent me a DM. He's like, "Year 9 in April," and I was like, "I found it." That's good. Hopefully, Barton, you saw the cheese because I did that in honor of you. I was like, "Hey, if we're gonna have one founder on here, I need to make sure that the other founder feels loved." So, anyway, listen, we are hitting that hour 45 mark. I have 1,000 other questions we can ask. I don't want to keep you here for too long. I want to get this kind of opened up to the rest of the guys for maybe another 10 minutes ish, if you're good with that. And
yeah, sure.
We'll let you field some other questions that you might have for us, and we'll go from there. Are you good with that?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Ozzy. Number 1 question you got for Karma right now?
What was your most fun, frustrating moment from Arma? Like as a man who also has an ungodly amount of hours in Arma, there's definitely one where you're like, where was the point? Yeah, like you're like the shit hit the fan, but everybody was just like had lost the plot, and they're like, "Fuck it, we do it, we ball." Yeah, what was that moment in Arma? Like maybe a plane hit the ground, bounced 7 times, then hit a vehicle, blew up the vehicle.
No, you're gonna hate it. It's a super boring answer. Oh, actually, no. I think. Okay, so the boring answer I was gonna give you was it's more like admin or server box related, where like the fucking game won't function.
I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
You guys looking for a rifleman that has a grenade in his pocket that's part of a different mod. You're like, fuck you.
So one of the most recent things that the COG guys have been training is we wanted to, like, we've been doing the raid stuff for a very long time, and we want to get a new mission set. So we started doing vehicle interdiction training, talking to a couple guys and just getting a lowdown on like how it generally functions. And so the way it works at COG is we have the kill COG events, which are, partly inspired by SquadOps. I mean, it's just a one life milsim event thing, but it is much more curated or focused in the fact that one team is the unit, is the element, is like these guys that have been training and playing together, versus the world essentially. And so that is an interesting experience because you're able to do much more, obviously, with a group that trains all the time and is able to work together and understands.
You get that synergy and cohesion.
Yeah, and it's pretty rigid in COG, where like guys are billeted down to like their squad and they have their spot in the fire team, and it is rigid. They don't switch. That's if you're a medic in the first squad, you're a medic in the first squad. If you're a grenadier in the second squad, second fire team, like that's what you do until you've like, it's not like, oh, this is what you have to do, like, and suck it up. It's like they'll do it until like they say, hey, I want to try something else. Who will swap with me, kind of deal. But it is more rigid in that sense. And so what you get is like a super high standard for behavior, for execution. And so the most recent thing we did was the vehicle interdiction, and that was a super cool one just to do in a PvE experience. There's so many moving parts. We have what, like 6 pilots with like between the Blackhawks, and then we have the cast pilots, and then we have the ISR pilot, and then we have the EWAR guy, and then we have the RTO and the FACS, and then the squad leaders and whatever, and just getting the 70 dudes to land on the target, on a moving target where the X is not predefined, and have them all land, get to establish positions, execute the takedown, grab the guy, treat any medical, and then get the birds back down and back up within like 5 minutes. Just orchestrating that in a controlled environment is super sick, and it takes hours of work. Like these guys, like, credit to the, they're running reps. Like when we do the training stuff, it's like, all right, we hit the all right, reset, maybe run 9-10 iterations in a night of just vehicles going different speeds, multiple vehicles, vehicle lands, vehicle stops somewhere else, vehicle doesn't stop, and all these things. And all this was done in preparation for the Kill COG event, or the PvP event.
Yeah.
So this goes back to lessons learned from the Karmakut community liberation server, where like what I enjoy most about a PvP experience is that the OP4 doesn't necessarily know what's going to happen. So this is a super long-winded explanation. Just bear with me. So for this event, Blue Force starts on one side at the forward operating base, and OP4 starts at their main operating base on the other side. There are 3 sets of CIA groups on the map in different parts of this large, armor maps are monstrous. So there are 3 groups of CIA groups, and both teams are trying to grab those CIA guys and bring them back to their base, dead or alive, right? So naturally, OP4 is going to rush out, and they're going to find the CIA safe houses, kill them or capture them, and try to bring them back. And we're trying to beat them to it, or rescue them in transit or at the base if they make it all the way back to the base. But OP4 has no idea when that's going to happen. They don't know if we're going to ambush them on the way. They don't know if we're going to stop them in flight or en route. They don't know if we're going to just wait for them to collect all the guys, bring them back, and then we'll hit them at the base. It is super open-ended. They have no idea, and that element of surprise, I think, is really integral to selling the experience. Instead of saying, hey, both teams, this is a convoy operation. Your job is to stop this convoy, right? And it's like, okay, everyone knows we're gonna get hit on this road. It's gonna happen here. Like this, like everyone knows exactly. It's kind of pre-scripted in that sense. But with this operation, like the rules were pretty simple: get these guys back, and that's how this plays out. So what we trained was the vehicle interdiction because we wanted that part of our tool set. Because we have multiple ways of hitting it. We can set up on the road and set an ambush. We can rush to one of the places and try to get there first and secure them. But obviously, we don't know if they're going to be there or not. Whatever the case may be. So, anyways, finally launched the op. Finally launched the. And this is in Drewski's latest video. I have a video coming out soon. I have to do as well, breaking down exactly how I'm breaking it down to you now. But the oh shit moment was technical issue like that. This is part of technical issue thing, but fucking ISR operator loses connections. Backup can't figure it out. The cars are crashing because of desync. Whole bunch of armor shit going on. Whole bunch of confusion. Vehicles en route from point A to point B with target inside. They have no idea we're trying to hit them from the air. And at a certain point, we just say, fuck it, we're hitting them here. We had a certain plan. Certain conditions failed to meet that plan. We said that was the, oh, fuck it, just fucking send it. Because we've been training for this thing. I had to have confidence in the guys. We're one life. Op4 has plenty of lives. And so when you think about that implication, I know you in a squad ops thing, like you think about one life PvP dropping helicopters around the like it's kind of fucking insane. You expect a lot of people to die on that thing, just getting one tapped or whatever. But we're able to make the hit. We stop the vehicle, get out. Everyone gets out, no casualties. Take the vehicle, grab the guy, push to another dynamic exfil and lift off. And that was like, these guys are fucking locked in. Like it's super crazy to see that level of execution in a video game. Because that's what I want. That's always, it's my dream. That's my dream. It's like doing that in a PvP environment with 70 other players roaming the map with Iglas, anti-air, with convoys, with HMGs. They could be in any building anywhere. Being able to hit that and do it is like that's something that that's why I go back to like the standard. It's like it's so crazy. It's so crazy to be able to do that stuff in a video game in a live PvP environment with like no restrictions on either team or very few restrictions on either team. It's just adrenaline is crazy because it's just sick. It's crazy. Who does that? It's insane. I think that's the first PvP live vehicle interdiction done in like Milsim gaming history. It was pretty crazy.
In Arma, probably. I don't think anyone's brave enough to crash two cars together in Arma.
Not unless you want to join
not on purpose.
the Arma Space Force for sure.
Yeah. No, that's brave. That's the few, the proud, the whatever.
It was just super fun. Yeah, because like anything can go wrong. One of those helicopter pilots fucks up and they clip their rotors. That bird's down. That's not going anywhere. We're surrounded in the middle of goddamn nowhere. Who knows? Or like we have like multiple guys go down. It's just crazy.
I think you'd statistically in Arma have a higher chance of the convoy killing each other before you get to the X.
100%. 100%. Yeah. No, it was. That was definitely the like holy shit, just send it, dude. Like that was the moment. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. All right. So that was Ozzy. Fire, did you go yet?
No.
Okay, you got a question for him?
I've got one content creator's side, and then another just kind of statement. What with the algorithm like it is nowadays? What was one video, like, or a couple videos that kind of reverse your expectations? Like you were like, all right, I'll put out this I guess a filler episode you can call it while I wait for while I finish this bigger project, and it does gangbusters, and then all the way around where you're working on this project for a long time, and you're just like, I didn't do as well as I thought. Like, what's your hidden gem, you think?
So Door Kickers 2. When I first started doing Door Kickers 2 on the channel, like that was like a throwback to the old school of doing content where like I don't edit Door Kickers 2 footage. There's no real way you can do like some fancy stuff with the camera and whatnot. Like for how the game is played, it is kind of like awkward to do because like the whole thing is like the planning and the execution. That's like a click record, end record, upload type of game. And that was like I think the first one I did was maybe a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. But like compared to some of the things that some of the content creators have to do now, or like what content creators are doing now, like editing wise, or like all these cinematics and stuff and whatever. Like I think that Door Kickers video got like 1 million something views or whatever, right? And it was just because like I love the game. You could tell I love the game. I was into it. I was just talking about it. And it was, something new that like it's a very niche game. It's not a very popular big game that a lot of people know. And that was like an example of if you love something and if you've got something unique, like people will watch. Because that's a video where like from a execution standpoint, I did not put any work into making that video aside from commenting and saying things out of my mouth from stuff that I've like learned in the Milsim world of how to play games, quote unquote, Milsim like, that people enjoy hearing in their ears. Yeah, that was one that exceeded expectations. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess people like watching me play Door Kickers too. A video that fell on its face would probably be probably an Arma or a Squad video that I like heavily edited. And that's where I kind of learned the lesson of in Arma and Squad. Arma's a little bit easier because you have the parameters with, you know, the Zeus or whatever, or mission making to create a unique experience that no one's ever seen before. Like it is very easy to create an operation or a style of operations or an environment that showcases unique stuff. Squad is different. We definitely reached an end of the Squad boom. I think at the end of like the first Karmakut season, where like people were tired of Squad. The viewership for Squad is like, all right, we've seen this. Ain't much new coming out of this game. Like factions, sure, that's cool, but like mechanics, fundamentally, like ain't much going on here for a long. There's a 3-year sprint where like nothing was fucking changing. Like people were doing some kind of mods like MEE and whatnot. But like
Star Wars,
maybe we got the Aussie mod in the map, yeah, or something like that, or we got something, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. But I remember an era of Squad where something new or big or game changing was announced like every couple of months, and maybe that development speed is just not sustainable over time. But they definitely went on a massive dry spell that was not proportionate to like the growth that they had previously. And like I was that was like, maybe if I spend more time editing an operations video, I will get more viewers, right? So I spend a week or so editing an operations video just to like clean it up or whatever. But I don't think it did that well. And so it's like you have to be aware of macro trends, both what is popular and also what is not popular. Because if something isn't popular, there's a couple ways you can approach that. One is like by making it popular, or by understanding that like it's unpopular for a reason. Is this game unpopular because no one has figured out a way to make it fun to watch, or is it unpopular just because at its core it is like okay or like whatever to watch? And then it's your job as a content creator to crack that puzzle and figure out what you want to do with it. And Squad, I was at the point of like I view the Squad problem as like, I am not down for where this is going. I don't want to spend the time and energy to crack this anymore. I'm leaving this. Versus Door Kickers was like, oh, I like this. This is an unpopular game, but I'll crack this and figure out like why people like it and make videos because I enjoy it. Does that make sense? It's kind of long-winded.
It does.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that makes
it
sense.
does.
Yeah, for sure.
You talked about it with the authenticity, right? So, like, if you're not having fun with something anyway, you're forcing yourself to try and be like, look, I'm having fun, but people can tell that. Whereas, it's like, the opposite, as you said, like, people aren't enjoying, or people aren't seeing the content for this. But you're like, dude, I'm having fun. So how do I portray that fun that I'm enjoying?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
That's a little nut.
Yeah, I think it's still possible in Squad for sure. It is definitely just harder. It's just harder because like it's a lot of that content's been covered 100 different ways from 100 different angles, and it's just it's not much unique stuff going. Like the biggest unique thing about Squad, in my opinion, over the past 5 or whatever years was the ICO update, and that wasn't a universally
Divisive.
good thing. Yeah, it wasn't a universally good thing. So that was like it was controversial and it drew attention, but yeah, I don't know. It was.
Sometimes negative attention is not a good thing, even though it's attention. I get what you're saying.
Look, I
Yeah.
loved it. I'm in the camp of the ICO was great. Anybody who hates it, fucking, take a breath, bro. I came from the PR space. It used all the same tools. The same people like, oh, but a top tier operator. It's like, you're not a top tier operator. Run for fucking 40 minutes with goddamn 30 kilos on you. I dare you. I dare you.
You'll be dying when you're done. All right, Frost. Question for Mr. Karmakut. What do you got?
Oh man, completely kind of off topic, sort of. Okay, so we have a
Would you be okay if he made underwear with your face on it? That's his question. Anyway.
Oh
sorry,
my
go ahead.
god, dude! New merch idea right there.
Calvin Klein sponsorship, here it comes.
I do still. Oh god, this is kind of awkward. I do still want to kind of get this body pillow out to you, man. Are you good with everybody signing it in Texas in the end of the year, and I send it to you?
Yeah, I'm sure we can figure out something. Yeah, we'll figure something
Good.
out.
That's all I needed, man.
Maybe Karma even makes a presentation at the Casa de Happy Glamper.
No, maybe
you're welcome to
maybe
come out and
the
you're welcome to come out and shoot some guns and kill some hogs with us. I know that's probably not possible given your time frame and your allowances, but if your time allowances, I should say. But if you're able, we'd love to have you out, man.
It's in December. Plenty of time to plan, dude. It would be fucking awesome for sure. Yeah.
But Ozzy will be there, so you get to meet the emu war loser. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was about. Yeah. Well, shut up.
All right, Karma. What questions do you have for us, man?
What do you guys up to these days, ops side?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. So we're still doing One Life events, but we've kind of, I would say, in the last year, we've started putting on other events. Well, maybe 18 months outside of that. So we started doing these things called Scenario Sundays. So they're more like a kind of a structured public match that features, whatever monster dream child that Roses or Death Rippers come up with. So one of the things that they implemented was a player controlled AC-130 as a commander call-in, which is fucking dope. I mean, we've got roadside mines. We did some partnering with the FDF mod, the Finnish Defense Forces mod, and got a handful of cool, sweet things from them. So it's been a lot of like showcasing those things in the Scenario Sunday stuff, and then refining it, and then dropping it into the One Life events. So we're doing a lot of those. One of the biggest things that's had, ironically, a lot of traction here is just playing games with friends. I know that sounds silly that it caught traction, but like I remember the focus here for like the 2017, 2018 time period, even into early 2020, was people playing squad, right, in the public server. And we seed on average 1 to 2 servers a day, but at any point in time, like I think if you scroll up through the Discord channel right now, yeah, there's 8 people playing Risk. There's 8 people playing Rust. There's 5 people playing PUBG. It's turned into more of like a gaming group where on any given day there's 3 to 4 to 5 different games being played. I mean, we're doing like Hoi 4 events. I think the biggest one we've had so far has been 20 people where they just show up and we'll play Hoi for it's like a game of Risk or a game of Monopoly. It could be an hour, it could be 5 hours, and the one thing you are going to know is at the end of it, someone is going to yell at someone's grandmother, right? But it's been a kind of a departure from specifically just One Life events and Pub Squad to more of a community, if that makes sense. And that's kind of the natural season and progression with the club. Gaining money for the club to be able to spend on items. Instead of having people like yourself or Barton or individual managers spending funds on a Google business account so we could have access to Google Sheets in a better fashion, or tools that we use for Arma. I'm sorry, for Squad admin team or whatever. The club pays for it now, which is awesome. Our Patreon has been doing well. It's steady, and honestly, it's been a refreshing change of pace to be able to go, well, instead of someone else having to kind of give up something in their life to be able to afford this, we all come together as a group and we make it happen. Put a lot more focus on these public meetups. We do between 2 and 4 a year. I think we're at hit number 10, or no, we're past number 10, aren't we?
Give me a second, I'll tell you.
In total.
Yeah, in total. So that's, I mean, we've done a lot of meetups with probably somewhere between 50 and 75 like individual
So it
people
looks like we'll have
attending.
a number 8 and 9 meetup this year.
This year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're close to 10, and there's probably been, I would say closer to 75 individual people from the community have come out to that. We've had guys from Ireland,
Netherlands.
Finland, the Netherlands. We've had guys from the West Coast come to the East Coast, the East Coast go to Texas. People have come from all over. This last Pennsylvania trip we had, I drove 20
What
something
was
hours
the
on the way up
the main
there.
trip?
The main trip. I'm sorry, the main trip.
Yeah.
I drove almost 30 hours up there. I picked up
Yeah,
frost
that
and
was
fire along the way in my truck.
Yep.
We had a hell of a road trip that was honestly a lot of fun. And
cost you
then
$3,000 in
in legal fees, yeah. Lots of toll
Not yet,
roads that I didn't realize
technically.
I needed to have a sticker for, but
Allegedly.
it's fine. Anyway,
Allegedly, yeah.
I'm probably not going to pay those because I'm never going to drive in those states again. Anyway, the focus has become less about a single game and more about a community, if that makes sense.
No, I
the best
definitely
is
get that vibe.
yeah, if you have a look at Game of the Month, like it rotates and you'll see community involvement. I think the last one was I think the last big one was Project Zomboid, where we booted up a server for the second time. And then before that was probably Armor Reforger, where we just had every other week somebody would be like, "Yep, I'm on unnamed." Like we just had there was a series of servers, and then we just like, "Yep, I'm on that one," and that was it. And you'd have dudes on 6, 5, and all that stuff, and it was good to go. I think Repo's probably. I can feel it. I can feel it coming. Repo's going to be the next game of the month. Where we can all scream and shout at each other like it's.
Armor Reforger. Armor Reforger is becoming pretty big here too. I know Culper has been putting some attention to that, but like at one point we had 20 people over the course of a day, 20 individual different people. Maybe it was not quite 15. But that's become a really popular game here too. It's just hopping on in public servers and playing together and having fun with that. It's in a good place right now compared to where it was 6 months or a year ago with modding
Every now and
and
again,
everything else.
Every now and again as well, the dudes run a Armor 3 little session. I think today we had 3 people go out to FNF for the couple of rounds. Like, so there's still the environment and the desire the appetite to keep doing those kind of games. Yeah, like selfless plug. I'm making some shit for the team and all that. Selfless plug.
What other questions you got?
What other questions do I have?
Yeah.
How many people have passed SOT basic at this point?
Oh God, where's Scriv? Oh
Hold
shit.
on. No. I have the sheet. Give me a second.
You got it? Okay.
I got it. There is a chat question. What do you think of my beard? What are your thoughts on the beard?
It's very nice.
Okay. All right. Nice. You're not just saying that to make me feel better. All right. That's good. It's good. Or at least you're lying to me, one or the other. That's also good.
Oh no, it's good.
Let's see. Team working. I believe it's in there. Oh no, that one's not it. It's not team.
in the chat.
Admin docs. Dashby says just popping in to say you can kiss my legal age ass, Ryan.
I saw that.
What a bizarre thing to say.
Yeah.
That's a little sus.
7,000. Okay, yeah. So from their SOT Master doc, it says 7,926 have passed.
Pretty crazy.
Oh, all right. I'm getting that from Culper as well. 7,926 people have gone through basic.
Number 8,000 gets admin perms instantly. So.
Immediately.
No, we're saving that for 10,000. 8,000, they get a free pair of the Tommy Hilfiger underwear that Frost is developing right now. I was waiting for him to take that sip
feel
of
like
that drink before I said that. I want you to know that. I timed it out so that you can take that
almost
sip.
choked. I almost choked on my beer.
The 9,000 person gets access to, instead of a rolled flag, it's a rolled Karmakut fucking pillow on the back for balance.
Body pillow? Yeah, perfect.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, they get to run that. Yeah, it's just on the back like a fucking like a camelback.
That's too funny.
All right. Any other questions for us, Karma? We're over our time limit. I apologize, but this has been a lot of fun.
No, you're good. That's that's pretty much it.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank the rest of the podcasters for being here as well. Thank you, Frost. Thank you, Fire. Thank you, Ozzy. Thank you, Culper, for putting all of this together. Yeah, without all of us here, this wouldn't be possible. So, Karma, any last words? Anything you want to say to the people before we sign off?
Wow, thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast.
Awesome. Well, we'll have you again in the future, maybe, and maybe even in an op, but we'll talk about that offline. Thank you guys for coming out. Remember all the events that I talked about earlier. We've got One Life event tomorrow. We've got Scenario Sunday. Wednesday, we've got another One Life op. The 29th, we've got one more One Life op. And then you could be the 8,000th person to go through basic if we get 74 people to sign up to go through basic on Sunday. So without you signing up, we won't know. And there may be something in place for that. Frost, are you prepared with the release of the OnlyFans foot pick thing, or have you not gotten enough documentation for that?
Not quite yet, bud.
All right, still doing some editing.
Need more. Yep.
Join the Discord if you guys want to check it out. Check out our website, squadops.gg. I see Culper's kind of logged those in there as well for me. Again, Karma, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the time, man.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you guys later. All right, say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Peace out.